Hey everyone, CKY here again, looking to do another walkthrough today. Today we're going to be looking at MS17-010, aka EternalBlue. As per my previous video, this is going to be a manual exploit for those of you who are trying to look at not utilising Metasploit for this purposes. We're going to use Hack the Box Machine Blue today for obvious reasons. It does have this exploit on it, so we're well placed to use that. So, without further ado, let's look to get this one rolling. First thing I will like to do here is actually ping the box to make sure that the host is actually online and waiting to receive our scans, which we would then do. Initially, I'm just going to look to scan the default ports in nmap purely as a time-saving measure. I would recommend any of you embarking on these types of challenges do scan a full range of ports in case anything is residing on the higher numbers, but in aid of time, I'm just going to scan the default ports on nmap, and then I will revert back when we have our results. Okay, so results have appeared here, and as we can see, we've got some ports identified: 135, 139 and 445. Now what I would then look to do, sorry, clicked the wrong button there, but what I would then look to do is launch a scan against these specific ports to see if we could identify any vulnerabilities. So this is getting a more targeted approach now, as we've done before. So we'll launch nmap and we'll do so against the ports that we have just identified in that scan. So we've put the ports in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm then going to use the scripting engine and the vuln module in particular of nmap, which is what we can use to try and find vulnerabilities against our target. So we'll run that and we'll see what results we get back. Okay, so we've got our scan results back here, and as we can see, this machine is vulnerable to MS17-010, EternalBlue, so that's good. Now what I would then look to do from here, EternalBlue is an SMB exploit, so what I would then look to do is determine whether we can actually exploit this with anonymous authentication, because that can have an impact to the exploit that we actually use. So using SMB client with the list switch, we'll run it against there. Now I've not put a password in there, I've just hit carriage return, and as we can see, it has listed the shares without having an authenticated username and password, so that's a good thing. So I'm then going to reach out to Google, the Google machine, and type in the exploit with GitHub, and there's a particular exploit that I'm looking for here. I know it's Windows 7, we know it's Service Pack 1, so I'm going to look for the ZZZ exploit down the bottom here because I know that it works on that particular operating system. So we will get the code, copy the link here, and we will then use wget to pull this down. The anonymous authentication is important because it does come back to something that we need to amend in this script, which I will show you. So we've got the ZZZ exploit. We need to change the permissions on that so it's obviously executable, which is good. The next thing that we also need for this exploit to work is the mysmb.py module. So we're going to take the link for that and also copy this one down too. We obviously just need to make sure that this is stored in the same directory as our previous exploit. So we'll download that and we will also make this executable. There we go. And that will be us good to proceed. Okay, that's perfect. So from here we're now ready to go ahead and amend the script that we downloaded earlier. So I mentioned before it was important that we established if we had the ability for anonymous authentication. That's because, as you'll see in the script here, there is a section that does specify username and password. Now, because we know that it responds to anonymous authentication, we can just put in 2 forward slashes in there, and that will represent the anonymous authentication. The next thing I'm going to do here is do a search for SMB underscore, because that takes me to the point of the exploit that I know we have to amend. It's not the first time it finds it, it's the second point. So what I'm going to do here is that the first line I'm going to change here is that it's just a print statement. It's not essential, but for completeness I am going to change it. We're going to create something with MSF Venom, and I'm going to call it exploit.exe. And the next line we're going to change, this is for creating the actual file. So we do have to change this line and put the name of our payload in there, which is exploit.exe. I'm also going to remove the comment from these 2 lines because we need these 2 lines to be active within our script. Now, I'm not going to pass this as an argument. I'm going to hard code the location of our exploit.exe. So I'm going to put the full path in here, which is buried in my documents folder. So we shall put the full path in here. And we will also need to look at updating the name of the file on this line as well. So we'll amend exploit.py and make that exploit.exe. And from there we will then look to make the final change to our script. So in the service exec line we will look to take this out because we're not going to copy the file across here, we're actually going to execute our payload. So we'll just put the path in here to where we've copied it previously in the script. And that is all the changes complete. We'll then look to just save this and we will be ready to execute our exploit. Okay, so if we look to just execute the script here, it will show us the syntax required. And as you can see here, the second part here, it's looking for a pipe name. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how you can actually get the name of the pipes. We're going to open up Metasploit. Now, although we're opening up Metasploit, we're not using Meterpreter or any of those modules, so this would be permitted in the likes of the OSCP. We're going to just search for pipes here, and one of the auxiliary modules that shows up is the pipe auditor. So if we just say use 0, we'll then look at our options and we'll set the R hosts to the server that we're currently looking at. That's the only option we have to set when running this. There is an option for username and password, but we don't have to worry about that because there is anonymous authentication. So we then run this, and as we can see, we then get a list of pipes to utilise. A lot of you may already know pipes that you can use and not have to do that step, and if so, that is fine. So we will now look to create our payload that we require for the script here. So we're going to use MSF Venom, and we're going to just create a standard. As I say, we're not going to utilise Metasploit here, so we're just going to create a standard reverse shell for Windows. The format is an executable. We'll set the local host and the local port information, and we shall output that to the file name that we specified in our scripts, which is exploit.exe. Hit return there, and if we do an ls, we can see that we've got our exploit.exe available to us there. And from there we are now ready to execute against our target machine. So I'm going to create another window here, and create a listener for the reverse shell. Oh, can't type, as you can see. So we'll do a netcat to create a listener on port 4444 as we've done previously. And then we will look to execute the script. I've specified the SAMR as our named pipe here. As we can see, the script executes, attempts to launch the exploit on the target. And we hope that we catch a reverse shell, and as we can see in the bottom screen there, we now have a reverse shell. I will launch a who am I to determine what our privilege is, and as we can see, we have system privileges, which gives us access rights to everything on this machine. Now, if you are going to complete the challenges from here, you can then go and browse into the relevant directories to get the flags. So going to users, we can see the first one here is Harris, so we can go in there. Flags are usually located on the desktop, so in the desktop folder. And as you can see, user.txt is there, and to get the value for that, you'd use the type command followed by the file name. Now, I'm not going to execute that, so that you can go ahead and do that yourself. That would be the user file, and then we would relocate up a couple of directories and then go into the administrator folder. Again, my typing is not good. Change it about again. Into the administrator, into the desktop folder. And we see the root.txt there. As I say, I'm not going to show you the output of this. You can go ahead and do this challenge yourself. And that'll be the end of the walkthrough. I hope you found this beneficial. As I say, we use the blue box here, but this will work against any machine which is susceptible to the EternalBlue exploit. You will find that this is still pervasive in environments today, so it's a very, very useful exploit to be familiar with, and it's good to know that we can do it manually in addition to using Metasploit. I'd like to take this time to thank you for viewing, and we'll catch you soon. Thank you.